Hi, it's Millie from Connecting the Dog here, and today I want to talk to you about training and TTouch and whether they are mutually exclusive. Now, I am not a dog trainer per se. I have done some work with dog trainers. I have met with a lot of dog trainers, and I talk about how we can incorporate TTouch into the training environment. So it's really a way of enhancing your training, and there are a lot of TTouch tools that can be used in the training environment, and it may be that you choose to do TTouch over training or just training by itself, or put them together. And there are a lot of dog trainers out there that are starting to incorporate some of the TTouch principles into their classes. Now, the benefit of TTouch and why it is so great to add to people that are training, especially if you have behavioural issues with your dogs, is that it works with the dog on the body level. So a lot of times when we're training, we're trying to find the behaviour that we want. We're trying to set our dogs up for success to get that behaviour. But the benefit of adding TTouch to that is that we then actually look at supporting the dog on a physiological level and making sure that they are as comfortable as they possibly can be in that moment. And we believe in the TTouch world that if your dog is physically out of balance, then they are struggling to be mentally and emotionally in balance, and that's where those behavioural issues can show. So to not only use your training techniques, if you then add TTouch techniques in there, you are actually sort of supporting the dog in that learning journey and making sure that they and you are getting as much out of that learning journey as possible. Now, we do that in a few different ways. One way is that we use touch. And these particular touches are very light. It is not like massage. And what it does is that it is a completely different experience than our dogs are generally used to. And it allows them to learn about their body a little bit more and understand whether they do or they don't like to be touched in particular areas. The other way that we can help them is by using body wraps, which can be done in so many different configurations for different types of dogs and different reasons. But essentially the reason why we use them is to, the light touch activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming side of the nervous system. So they have a calming effect, or they can have a calming effect because every dog is different. So they generally have a calming effect. They also use proprioception or activate proprioception, and that means that they get a better understanding of their edges in space. It's a lot easier for us to understand sort of where our edges are, but for our dogs, it's very different for them. They have a very different experience in their bodies, and some dogs don't even realise they have a rear end because they're just so focused on the front end of their body. So adding light bandages or wraps to their body, especially in their rear end, gives them a whole different understanding of their body. And when they understand their body and they feel more confident in their body and more centered in their body, they become a calmer and more confident dog. Do you see how it works? The other thing that we do is that we can either independently or adding the touch and the wraps together, go through what we call a playground of higher learning. Now, that playground is kind of based on the Feldenkrais method in the sense that we want dogs to go through sort of like an obstacle course very slowly. And the reason why we want to do that is we want them and for us to understand our dog's balance. Are they able to turn in one or both directions, or do they just prefer to turn in one direction? It can be used, especially if you have reactive dogs, these sort of obstacles to help them turn away from dogs and feel comfortable in that scenario. And you use different surfaces to, again, add proprioception in the feet, but to really sort of get that balance and really understand, are they comfortable touching different textures and things like that. So you can see how if you put dogs through this, these techniques of understanding their body and becoming more aware of their body, that they become more self-aware, they become more self-confident, and generally a confident dog isn't a reactive dog, or they're a calm dog essentially, or they're a calmer dog. So it's really in, I suppose, your dog's best interest to become as aware of their bodies as possible. But the even cooler thing, which is the thing that I love about it most, is that when we start doing these TTouch techniques, we become so aware of our dog's comfort, and we really start to learn about them so much more. And it gives us such an opportunity to build a even more trusting relationship, because if our dogs are uncomfortable in their bodies, they generally don't want to be touched in that area. And so using TTouch, again, if you have a dog with issues going to the vet and things like that, and grooming, but essentially using this TTouch method allows them to build up, I wouldn't say tolerance, but an acceptance of being touched in certain areas, being comfortable being touched in those areas. And the only way they can do that is to have a completely trusting relationship with you. So doing TTouch on your dog builds that trusting relationship and allows you to develop that further. So I hope that's answered all of your questions. TTouch can be done with training. It can be incorporated into your training regime. It will not hinder anything that you're doing with your training. It will enhance it. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to comment below or private message me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. I hope you have a great day. Bye.